U.S. federal courts may have been hacked in a way that is a serious breach of national security, so much so that it came up today during a House Judiciary Committee hearing that involved Jerry Nadler. You remember Jerry Nadler. He is the chairman of the committee. He is this guy right here. We're going to listen to him asking Mr. Matthew Olsen, who's over at the Department of Justice, specific questions about the hacking of infrastructure from the court management system that is what operates our court system in this country, right? Federal courts, criminal court cases, if they've been hacked, if the data has been compromised, there could be some serious consequences to that. And there was a very deep discussion about that today. So we are going to get into it. Now, the headline, the sort of summation of this comes over from Politico. And I want to give you the background on this, but the headline tells us the Justice Department is investigating a data breach of the federal system. Chair Gerald Nadler described a system security failure of the document management system. And what does this mean? We don't know yet. But it is a scary scenario for the branch. And we saw this, that there were a bunch of Congress people in court today. And this quote is what really stood out to me. This hack, look at this, by 3 hostile foreign actors, saying they attacked the U.S. court's document filing system as part of a breach in early 2020, causing a system security failure. The comments at a national hearing on oversight were the first public disclosure of the hack. This all took place today. Nadler said that it was startling in breadth and scope. And what's very curious about this, and how a lot of this ties into a lot of the same things we've been talking about, right? That's the story over from Politico. We don't know who those 3 foreign actors may be. But remember, there was a hint of this some time ago. If you go over to uscourts.gov and you search for this story, you'll see they tell us this. Judiciary addresses a cybersecurity breach. Extra safeguards are put in place to protect sensitive court records. Now, look at this date. Look at this publication date on this story. Published on January 6, 2021. That date, it just keeps showing up all over the place. So you rewind the clock back to that date. After the recent disclosure of widespread cybersecurity breaches of both the private sector and government computer systems, federal courts are immediately adding new security procedures to protect highly sensitive, confidential documents filed with the courts. All of this was released. News came out January 6, 2021. A known compromise involving all sorts of different products hit, and we talked about some of this here on the channel. The Department of Homeland Security, they're doing a security audit and they're trying to figure out what happened. Okay, so that all took place some time ago. Now, Politico told us that there was a hearing that took place today. Many people were chiming in on this. Jackson Lee says, and she's from Texas, she's a Democrat. I mean, the Democrats are all over this. They say, I would expect your preparation for us to be able to get that information as quickly as possible to figure out what happened here. This is a dangerous set of circumstances that has now been publicly announced, and we need to know how many were, she said, dismissed. She might be talking about cases being dismissed. Senator Rod Wyden, he's a Democrat from Oregon. He said there are serious concerns the federal judiciary has hidden the consequences of the data breach from Congress and from the public. Okay. Now, I believe that 100%. Okay. This is one of those stories where if this happens, every single person except defense lawyers and defendants have an interest in covering this up. Every politician does, every prosecutor does, every judge does, right? Every single person does. Because if this gets out to one defense lawyer that there's a data breach and there's some compromised information or confidential stuff that got leaked out or it's floating around on the dark web somewhere, holy moly, right? That would be a catastrophe. So literally everybody would cover this. I could see this like this is a Hollywood thriller all over it, right? Everybody covers up this massive breach. We have 3 foreign actors who have hacked the federal court system. You know who's having a little birthday party in her cell today? You know, Ghislaine Maxwell. She's like, wait, what? What got hacked? Oh, the federal court system got hacked? And what does that mean for me? Did they go into my case file? Please tell me they went into my case file. She's very happy about that. Now, right here, many people are upset about this. The federal judiciary has yet to publicly explain what happened, and they have refused multiple requests to provide unclassified briefings to Congress. So the entire judiciary is like compromised. Louis Rosello, a Justice Department spokesperson, declined to comment on the case, while David Sellers, a spokesman for the U.S. court system, declined to comment beyond a statement that they put out in January 2021. And the FBI didn't respond to a comment either. All these people, nobody's talking about it. But all of this is, they've confirmed it on the U.S. court's website, as we just went over and saw. Now, here is the actual statement that came out from, well, let me play this clip first. This is Matthew Olsen, and he gives us this is 4 minutes. We're not going to listen to the whole thing. But this is this guy. He talks about, this is his opening statement, and he talks about domestic violent extremism here before Chairman Nadler just comes out and hits him hard with the question right out of the gates. He said, hey, what about this hack? But let's listen to him just so we can refresh our recollection on who this guy is.
I would like to focus my opening statement on one of our top priorities, and that's counterterrorism.
Okay.
The country faces a persistent and dynamic threat from terrorism. This threat encompasses both foreign terrorist groups that seek to carry out attacks against the United States,
okay,
as well as domestic violent extremists.
That's us. I think that's us. It's people who object to how the government handled COVID and stuff like that. Like if you object to government policies, I believe officially you are a DVE. So, I mean, unfortunately, that's bad news for many of you who listen to this program, but welcome to the club. So he's talking about foreign actors. As we know, there were 3 foreign actors who apparently hacked our court system,
who are often mobilized to violence by racism and anti-government ideologies. International terrorism poses a continuing and evolving threat to the U.S., both at home and abroad. We keep an unwavering focus on violent jihadist groups, and we play an integral role in the broader all-of-government effort to defend against these threats. At the same time, the Department of Justice is committed to tackling the alarming threat at home from domestic violent extremism. Domestic violent extremists are individuals in the United States who seek to commit violent criminal acts in furtherance of domestic, social, or political goals. For example, we have seen a growing threat from those who are motivated by racism. We also see an increase in threats from extremists who espouse anti-government or anti-authority ideologies, and who often target those who participate in civil life, such as elected officials, police officers, and healthcare workers.
All right, so let's see what else he says.
The peaceful transfer of power.
Okay, yeah, so J6 stuff, yeah.
Our challenges when it comes to domestic extremism.
Still going about DVEs?
Terrorism investigations and prosecutions, working with our partners at the FBI and with U.S. attorneys' offices around the country. We recently established, as you noted, a dedicated domestic terrorism unit.
Yeah, we know. We covered that. He sat there with the FBI, Jill Sanborn, and Ted Cruz, asked them both, do you know anything about Ray Epps, this domestic violent extremist, that was on the FBI's most wanted list? And Jill Sanborn from the FBI, I have a screenshot of it. She literally made this face. No, I don't know. She literally made that face, okay? You talk about body language. Now, I'm a very expressive person. I make some faces from time to time. But the point is, she's in a congressional hearing, and Ted Cruz says, you know who Ray Epps is? And she goes, no idea. No, who? And made that face. We all go, you're so full of it, Jill. We know you know. All right, so here is Matthew Olsen now. They dedicated an entire branch after January 6th to this committee, to this hearing, or to this organization, the DVEs.
See and coordinate these cases across the department and around the country. Our domestic terrorism unit works very closely with the Civil Rights Division in the Department of Justice, which has prosecuted some of the most heinous terrorist attacks in recent years using our federal hate crime statutes.
Hate crimes.
Having spent 18 years myself as a career Department of Justice attorney and prosecutor, I know that our workforce is committed to the Constitution and to ensuring equal and impartial justice. We prosecute cases based on the facts and the law, without regard to ideology and politics.
Right.
Our national strength comes from our founding values.
Right.
These include the rule of law, freedom of speech, and freedom of association. And we will uphold these values as we safeguard the American people from threats to our safety and to our national security. I very much appreciate the opportunity to testify today, and I look forward to answering the committee's questions.
All right, so that's that guy, right? He's that guy. We spent a lot of time with him. Now, you know, he's a mover, okay? At the DOJ, you know, Merrick Garland is this very sort of, I think, milquetoast guy. He's just sort of this bland person who they just kind of move from room to room, not different than Joe Biden. But the people underneath him, the people who are really running the DOJ, Lisa Monaco and this guy, Matthew Olsen, they're the two people who are really moving the pieces around. Jill Sanborn over there, Christopher Wray right there. It's the FBI, so, you know, take that for what it's worth. But they are also, of course, you know, a huge part of the problem. But all of that is really kind of, you know, beside the point. Jerry Nadler didn't ask about any of that. You know, actually, all the Congress people came out today, and they took turns, and I have some other clips. They got into Hunter Biden. I'm not going to cover that today, but Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan and a couples really got into the Hunter Biden story. I have that clip. We might get into that tomorrow. But here they are just starting this hearing off. And the first question out of the gates from the chairman, Jerry Nadler, is about this hack. And this, I was listening to this today and I'm go, what did he say? Did he just say 3 people hacked our entire federal court system? 3 foreign adversaries? What the heck is that?
We will now proceed under the 5-minute rule with questions. I will recognize myself for 5 minutes.
I recognize you too, Jerry. And Jerry just recognized himself, but let's all take a moment to recognize Jerry also, okay? You don't have to always recognize yourself. We recognize you, Jerry.
5-minute rule with questions. I will recognize myself for 5 minutes.
Please proceed.
On January 6th, 2021, the Administrative Office of the Courts released a public statement about a cybersecurity breach dating back to early 2020, unrelated to SolarWinds. However, it was only in March of this year that the committee first...
Only in March of this year. This took place in 2020. Now, he reads a statement, so I'm going to pause because these people are just like glazed over, you know, and so I'll pause to make sure we can really unpiece what's happening here. March, they just learned about this.
Learned the startling breadth and scope of the court's document management system security failure.
Okay, he said startling breadth and scope of the document management system failure.
And perhaps even more concerning is the disturbing impact the security breach had on pending civil and criminal litigation.
What?
As well as on ongoing national security or intelligence matters.
What?
Understanding that this is...
what? Okay, ongoing to pending criminal and civil cases, but also national security matters. Okay, so like I don't know, like warrant requests and like FISA requests, like how deep does this go? Like the entire document management system? Like if they're getting warrants on foreign surveillance, are these foreign countries checking the court docket and saying, oh, darn it. Oh, hey, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman from Saudi Arabia. Here's what they've got on you. They've got this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. They've all got warrants on them. All their phones are tapped. How do you know? Oh, well, we hacked the federal court system. Oh, well, and that's pretty amazing. Like for real. And he says, yeah, no, seriously. Like here, I'll show you. Yeah, here's the docket. Here, just type in your name. Here are all the warrants that exist. Yeah, they've tapped all these phones. Holy what? So that kind of makes you go, wait a minute. That's okay. And he's just dropping this out in public.
This is an unclassified setting. What types of cases or investigations or U.S. attorneys' offices were impacted the most by this breach? And how many of those cases and investigations are within your division?
Chairman, let me begin by just saying that the threat we face from cyber-enabled attacks, whether that's to the government and the public sector, including Congress, and to the private sector, is one of the most significant threats we face as a country to our national security. For the National Security Division, we are focused on nation-state attacks. And those attacks can come from countries like China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. So Nads just asked him about the 3 potential foreign actors who apparently hacked our court system, and he named Russia, China, Iran, and others.
Well, I can't speak directly to the nature of the ongoing investigation of the types of threats that you've mentioned regarding the effort to compromise the public judicial dockets. This is, of course, a significant concern for us. given the nature of the information that is often held by the courts.
Whoa.
Have any cases or investigations within the NSD been materially impacted, prolonged, or dismissed because of the court's breach?
Has anything happened? Okay, the court was breached. Any cases dismissed? Any data leaked? Any like consequential information that changed the course of a case? Oh, man.
I can't think of anything in particular that's been affected in the way that you describe, although I would want to double check on that. We are very concerned, and we're working, I can assure you, based on my own personal experience, that we're working very closely with the Judicial Conference and judges around the country to address this issue.
Judges around the country to address this issue. I don't even know what that means. Like, data leaked, cases dismissed, discovery violations. I mean, there are really catastrophic problems. Like if a system breaches a defendant's constitutional rights, right? I'm arguing all day. I don't care how that happened. I don't care if Russia hacked your court system, federal government. You think I give a crap about that at all? Pardon my language. No, I don't care. It's our client's constitutional rights. I don't care if your power went out. Whatever happened. It's immutable, my friends. So if, let's say Kim Jong-il went into, the court docket and they just moved a deadline back 6 months. And now, the defense attorney, a defense attorney's not going to bring this up. A defense attorney's going to sit there and go, they made a mistake. There's going to be a right to a speedy trial violation real soon here. They just sit on their butts and nothing happens. And then when the actual violation becomes ripe and prejudicial, then they drop the hammer on it and boom, case is dismissed. And now the prosecutor and the judge are going, well, I don't know how that happened. And everybody is trying to cover it up because nobody wants to be responsible for that. And nobody's going to come out and say, we just breached a bunch of people's constitutional rights, or we leaked the filings for all of our criminal defendants, or, what if this was gang related, all the like MS-13, or I don't know what has been disclosed. It's insane. It's one of the most insane things I've heard as a practicing lawyer. I mean, it's nuts.
Thank you. Has the department or NSD audited your own systems to ensure that you were not compromised by the same 3 hostile foreign actors?
3 hostile foreign actors
who attacked the document management system?
It's an ongoing effort to ensure the protection of our systems for the exact same reason. But I would say that the challenge when it comes to the sophisticated nation state type activity that we see inside.
Okay, so my initial thought was these were nation states, right? 3 foreign actors, 3 foreign nations. But then it sounded like maybe it was 3 foreign actors, like just 3 people, like 3 foreign nationals from a country. And then he goes back with this answer, and then he talks about nation states again, right? So now it sort of sounds like these might be nation state endorsed attacks on the U.S. federal document managed system for all of our courts.
Address this issue.
Thank you. Has the department or NSD audited your own systems to ensure that you were not compromised by the same 3 hostile foreign actors who attacked the document management system?
It's an ongoing effort to ensure the protection of our systems for the exact same reason. But I would say that the challenge when it comes to the sophisticated nation state type activity that we see in cyber, the challenge is significant. And it's very difficult to ever be in a position to say that any system is 100% safe when it comes to sophisticated nation states that seek to obtain persistent access to these systems.
That sounds to me like 3 foreign countries hacked our entire federal court system. And I don't even know what the consequences of that are. And you're probably not going to hear much about it. I think these types of stories, the worse they are, the less you'll hear about it. Because the last thing that anybody wants is for people to lose faith in the system, especially the justice system. If you could intertwine reasonable doubt into the system itself. Okay, not about the case, right? Defense attorneys are making reasonable doubt about the case. But the system, that, oh my gosh, they cannot handle that. That they fight tooth and nail to make sure that you don't jeopardize the system. And that's why if you get a bad officer, they're sort of sidelined. If you get a bad criminalist, somebody who tests blood in a crime lab, right, they're all sidelined. If they're really bad, they're sort of, they can't get hired anymore because defense attorneys will say the system is broken. They've got to protect the integrity of the system. So if a foreign or 3 foreign nation states jeopardize the entire federal court system, they are not going to let you talk about that. I can't believe they're openly talking about it right now.
The department's 2022 comprehensive cyber review concluded that DOJ, quote, needs to consider carefully what data it collects, both the lawfulness of the sources and the veracity of the data itself, close quote. As we heard last week during our digital dragnets hearing, unreliable or unverified data, often purchased through commercially available third-party sources, can lead to incorrect identification, wrongful arrests, and costly litigation for innocent parties. Under the Brady rule, prosecutors have a constitutional duty to disclose potentially
Okay, so he's getting into a different question about Brady, and so we'll leave it there, but my goodness, very, very strange story that the U.S. federal court system was hacked, it sounds like, by 3 foreign actors. And the consequences of this are yet to be determined. We'll see. Jerry Nadler's asking about it. A lot of other Democrats are asking about it. And I fully support, an investigation to learn more, because who knows who hacked who and what types of data they got. And really, if they move the needles around, or if they turn the dials ever so slightly, it may be enough to cause real repercussions throughout the entire justice system. And we'll see if there is anything more that comes out about it. I think everybody involved has a very strong interest in sweeping that right under the rug.